Did you ever get the feeling? As you're staring at the ceiling.
He took it up to defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
And the captain takes it till they find it in a grave somewhere.
By some, he's been called controversial.
But he never seemed to get too far. Well, if you think you're being taken, then you're ready to awaken to the truth of what we really are.
Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee, maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
And as long as we stay captive, we'll succumb.
He is the free American, Clay Douglas.
Let's be strong. We'll make it through the practice. We're all stop to pay our taxes. And that is why the banksters keep us down.
Catch the Free America weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
We learned it public school and did our fathers all for history, all fighting back for liberty so we could play the tyrant fool.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621.
And sure, servitude play. Overburdened and bewildered.
All right, we're back. You are listening to the Free American. You are listening to Clay Douglas. And I got to tell you, folks, I made a decision to do this. The Free American is back and better than before. The Free American is the only magazine to deal forthrightly with what was called conspiracy theories 10 years ago, but our own MSNB, MS mainstream news today. 10 years later. Now, this interactive online magazine will be delivered into your email in a PDF format bi-weekly. Every other week. I'm going to do it twice a week. Basically, it takes me almost a week to lay out the magazine, to choose the articles. I will take subscriptions, but this new format will link videos and this radio show because you really need to tell your friends about the last week and maybe this last month. I've had some really great guests on. We're cutting through the bullshit. We're cutting through the, you're a hater? You're a hater? No, I'm not. But I'm telling you the truth about Israel. I'm telling you the truth about the banksters. I am telling you the truth. Now, I'm going to link videos in the Free American Radio and TV in each issue. It's the only publication to consider and examine the Jewish question without hate or prejudice. The Constitution and our Bill of Rights permit all Americans to worship as they please. We do need wars between factions. The answers are here, but you won't hear them on the mainstream news. Now, they tried to kill me and the Free American magazine. They demonized me, my veterans friends, and the militia I helped start. They failed to kill me. And now, in the 21st century, I'm bringing the magazine back better than it was before. 1 year subs, only $20, and you can order issue by issue here or on Amazon's Kindle. I'll have that up on Amazon's Kindle probably by tonight. It'll be available today, the first issue of the magazine. Now, you can get a few past issues at freeamerican.com. You can hear all of my radio shows there. Now, you get this latest edition for only $2.99. I put up there to represent the Free American because I don't really have time to do the cover right now. But I've got building number 7, Why Did It Fall? And in this issue, I tell you who was responsible for 9/11, and 9/11, who was responsible for the USS Liberty. These are traitors to this country, dual citizens in this country, and frankly, I don't care how much they holler at me. That's a lot. The protocols. You got the protocols of the elders of Zion up there. That's don't you know? There's a forgery. Don't you know that's a forgery? How dare you put that up? How dare you insist I can't read something? How dare you insist I can't know something? They've done this to Ezra Pound picture right there. That's Ezra Pound. They went after him. My brother said this is a world-class poet, and he lived in Italy, and they put him in an insane asylum. Now, I've got books out, folks. I've got videos out. Those are all available at shop.freeamerican.com. There's American Dreamer Nightmare, 14 constitutional scholars. We got answers right here, and this is going to be part of the magazine too. Timothy Bible College, Little Red Schoolhouse, all of these places. It's all of them are linked on my site. You may not have checked them out. Somehow, I think the magazine will be better. I am a professional writer. I do get paid for the articles I put in the AZ Writer, Motorcycle Industry, or American Free Press. I do, and this is the way I make a living. So, for these trolls out there that sit in this chat room and say, why should we buy the book of a hater? Because of the information that's in it, you dumb son of a bitch. Oh, gee, I could have been on... You can't say son of a bitch. You can't say motherfucker. I had Grandma, possibly the wealthiest woman in the world, possibly the biggest asset that patriots and honest Americans have out there, and she referred to some of the people that tried to kidnap her and silence her and control her and get access to the Durham Trust. She referred to them as motherfuckers, and they took me off the line. I am an old biker, folks. I am an old biker, and I may use that language occasionally. I don't do it on radio shows, rarely. But I've been kicked off a radio station for telling you that George Bush said the U.S. Constitution was just a goddamn piece of paper. This is people trying to control what you say. Well, we own a radio station, and a lot of people will get upset with you. Well, you know what? I don't care. I don't do this show. I don't put out this magazine to massage your feelings. So if you're a good Baptist, you may not like me because I dance. You know, if you're think you're a good Christian, you may not like me because I ride a Harley. If you're a Jew and you know I'm a true Israelite, you may hate me. And by the way, you know who the true Israelites are in Israel? It's the Palestinians. It's the Palestinians, and oh, that's in the next issue of the Free American. Yeah, that's the next issue of the Free American. Let me just share that with you. This is pretty incredible here, I think. And we'll be dealing the first article in here, Small Liberty Villages, that tells you what we can do and how we can respond. And you got little briefs in there like this. We found out, been doing a lot of study on this, People don't read whole books. Man, I tell you, that book here, that's 500 pages. Takes a long time to read, man. I can only concentrate on short bits, so I'm doing short bits. I'm doing stories. I'm marketing the magazine for $3. I used to sell it for 5. Now I'll sell it to you for 3. If you and this book, which you'll be able to read on your Kindle, on your computer, or in your handheld computer, will give you all the information that you need. Make intelligent decisions. Yeah, I told you all the way back 10 years ago that all our phones were tapped, and that they used that to try to kill me in 2004. Some owned a lot of money, closed down businesses that were already sold publicly traded companies. The same thing's been done to men who developed advanced carburetor systems, stationed in mental hospitals, threats, torture, even some are murdered. Seems that it's against the law to have a car in America that can get better than 50 miles a gallon. Gas prices must be up. And that's why people like my guest today, Jay Gutierrez, are going to be attacked. The doctors and the pharmaceutical companies don't make any money if you're healthy. So they want to keep you sick, and this is what they are doing. Alright. Alright. Hang on a minute. Let's see if we can get somebody out here. Alright, let me see if we can do this. Yeah, let me see if we can get him here. Okay, alright, I'll get you up here. Alright, okay, where was I here? Let me just, let me make you understand why we are doing this way. And one of the advantages over the free American that you're not going to get in the other. Everybody else is worried about offending the Jews. Everybody is worried about that. And I'm not. I'm not, because they are trying to kill us, folks. They have done it before. They're doing it again. It is a pattern. It is a pattern. I hope to show that in this yeah, let's see. This gentleman just sent me an article, and I liked it, and so I'm putting it in right away. He says, I renounce my U.S. citizenship and the United States of hypocrisy. Oops. Stay with me here. Okay. The first article in the book is a rendition of everything that's been going on and why we're doing what we're doing. Now, Dr. Rebecca Carley will be on in a couple of days, and she's got one of the first articles in the new issue. She says America is a gulag indistinguishable from Bolshevik Russia. The definition of gulag is a network of forced labor camps in the former Soviet Union, especially for political dissidents. The word archipelago compares the system of labor camps and spread across the Soviet Union with a vast chain of islands known only to those who were fated to visit them. The answer to the question, what's ailing America, on her radio show was history repeats itself, comparing what the Jews are doing today in America to what happened in the USSR, as per the book Gulag Archipelago by Nobel Prize winner Alexander Solzhenitsyn. My guest, she says, was a historical researcher, Bill Maher. And we got a link for her site there. We got links for it. And Alexander Solzhenitsyn's book traced the history of the system of forced labor camps that existed in the Soviet Union from 1918 to 1956. We covered, she says, three main characters of indistinguishable characteristics of the Gulag in Russia to the reality we now find ourselves in America today. These three categories include policies of the ruling elite, security aberration which controlled people, as well as the impact on families. It is self-evident that we are even in a worse position today due to the technology enabling unprecedented surveillance and covert killing using big pharma drugs, especially bioweapon vaccines, not to mention an executive order by Traitor-in-Chief Obama allowing drone strikes on an American who has his cartel deemed need to be killed. No trial, just a death sentence, mandated by the monster who actually received a Nobel Peace Prize. Hardly a Solzhenitsyn. The mind control of the majority of Americans could not be more evident. However, the not talked about provision of the Obamacare, which will kick in as of January 2014, will bring the destruction of the family to a whole new level, allowing home invasions of CPS agents, kidnapping of children into state custody for almost any reason. The forced home inspections, which are part of the Obamacare atrocity, can be reviewed at freedompost.com. Obamacare provisions, forced home inspections. There you'll be able to learn clearly any family may be visited by federally paid agents for almost any reason. The Health and Human Services website states your family will be targeted if you fall under the high-risk category. Families whose mom is not yet 21. Families whose someone is a tobacco user. Families where children have low student achievement, development delays, or disabilities, in most cases because they were inoculated with bioweapon vaccines. Families with individuals who are serving or formerly served in the armed forces, including such families that have members of the armed forces who have had multiple deployments outside the U.S. I bet they're not telling young people. Who show up to military recruiting officers about this little factoid. Now, a homeschooling family may be subject to intervention Whatever. It's interesting. Everything just locked up. At any rate, a farm family may be subject to intervention in order to prevent childhood injuries. Firearms will be included as a potential safety hazard requiring home inspection. Incredible, huh? The federal government will now set the standards for raising children and will enforce them by home visit. Are you just looking forward to this? You know, folks, we tried to warn you about all this going on. We tried to warn you about it. We tried to tell you about it. You didn't want to, it sounded too fantastic. When I told you 10 years ago, under the True Face of FEMA, which you still should buy and watch, I've tried to tell you that they intend to move troops in on us. We saw that in Boston. Troops moved in on us to find a SWAT team deployed to find one 19-year-old kid with a backpack. That was pretty incredible to watch, and certainly, in case of in case of a natural disaster, in case of an earthquake on the New Madrid fault line. Incredible. We got to fix this. We got to fix this, folks, and I think working together under the banner of the free America. Don't let them try to divide and conquer. He's a hater. No, I'm not. I'm not a racist. I'm not a rapist. I'm not a thief. And I'm not a liar. I'm also not a politician, and maybe I ought to be, because you gave $1 billion as a politician. I don't need near that much. I don't need near that much to stay in business and keep telling you the truth and get better and better all the time. I don't need that. There are enough people out there, folks, that are doing a lot. They are making these changes here. They are doing, I told you, we've had the technology to turn this into a garden planter for 100 years. They won't let you use it because they want to destroy rather than, build. They don't want to create here. They just don't. Let me try to get some of this stuff out. Okay. Seems to be working again here. Alright. Even more extensive discussion of this mother of all conspiracies aimed at our children can be found. That'll be linked in my article. Obamacare regulations has managed to escape scrutiny from the mainstream media. Millions of American families will be targeted for home invasion by the forces of the federal government in the name of preventing parental neglect, resulting in disabilities to their children. And the Fourth Amendment the Fourth Amendment be damned. After January 1st, 2014, federal officials may enter your home without a warrant in order to intervene for the purpose of saving high-risk children. The home invasion will be conducted by Child Protective Services on behalf of the HHS, Health and Human Services. And Dave Hodges continues with this, with the following very important information. Meet the creators of the state-sponsored child kidnapping rings. The primary author for this insane manual for HHS and CPS and their designed home invasion intervention is Diane D. Panfelis. She's an associate dean for research and the associate professor of social work at the University of Maryland. More importantly, she is the co-editor of the Handbook on Child Protective Services. In other words, the Panfelis has been a major player in all the unconstitutional practices we see in the Child Protective Services in all 50 states. As if this is not considered enough, all of the other contributing authors have their professional origins and affiliations with the same organization. Lindsay Ritter Taylor from Caliber, an ICF company. Or Matthew Schumann, a consultant with ICF International Company. Gene Stroh, a consultant with Caliber, an ICF International Company. Gene Miller, consultant with Caliber. So Carly says at this point I smelled a rat. We have the primary author of primary author being a CPS author, designed to teach their field operatives on the methods of how to abuse parents and undermine parental authority. All of the contributing authors come from the same corporation, ICF, and at this point it's prudent to ask who is ICF? ICF is the biggest player you never heard of. And let me fix that. ICF partners with government and commercial clients to deliver consulting services and technology solutions on climate change, energy, environment, transportation, social programs, defense, homeland security markets. This has established ICF as a major player in the introduction of the second implementation of the globalist agenda by designing matching federal programs. As it turned out, they are a major player in Obamacare through their subsidiary acquisition, Caliber Associates. Caliber is an established leader in providing research and consulting in human services and human resource issues. ICF acquired Caliber in 2005 in order to serve HHS, so the U.S. Department of Justice, U.S. Department of Defense, U.S. Department of Education, Caliber Associates, and their 4 contributing authors to the HHS CPS field manual, which will be used to enforce child welfare regulations, was the undeniable link to Obamacare to this field manual. But as she discovered, the rabbit hole went even deeper. Carly says, after I found the co-authors of HHS policy manual, which will guide these first home inspections, I smelled a distinct odor of United Nations and Agenda 21, and this was exactly what I found. The United Nations and Obamacare. And let me fix that. Sorry, doing my editing while we sit here, so my apologies. At times, Carly says, I feel like I have the globalist playbook and I'm able to often anticipate their next move, so please allow me to illustrate how the globalists have operated in another area, education, and then draw the parallel to how the UN is deeply involved in Obamacare. The Common Core curriculum, which is sweeping the nation's education system, is a product of Education for All. Education for All comes from the United Nations Education Arm of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, page 37, the International Labour Organization. Hang on. She says, this is the standard model that the globalists follow when implementing a controversial program, and Obamacare follows a similar pattern, as did Common Core. There is no doubt that the provisions of allegedly protecting children in Obamacare originated with the United Nations and the human rights document entitled Human Rights Persons with Disabilities, ICF and UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Training Toolkit. Implementation of programs designed to help people, children in particular with disabilities, came from the World Health Organization, UNESCO, page 37, the International Labour Organization, page 36, and the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. As one can see from the title, ICF and the UN have partnered to protect people, children with disabilities. And what will these allegedly at-risk children, what will be done with these allegedly at-risk children abducted from their families? This is where the rabbit hole goes so dark that even those with a conscience will not even be able to conceive of such evil. As I have documented many times, before in these newsletters, children abducted by the state are put into international child tracking, pedophile rings used for child pornography, experimentation of psychiatric drugs, and worse. Now, since government agents will be committing these crimes against your children, who will you turn to for justice? Now, folks, that's one of the things that I've been trying to tell you that we could accomplish with our neighborhoods, of organizing our neighborhoods, talking to our neighbors, and trying to point out the reasonableness of this is what's happening. This is the UN, this is foreign government, this is one world government, and they want to make you into a criminal if possible, because then they can put you in your little prison camps, and we'll talk about that more too. The All of this is very disturbing. You would prefer not to put your head in the sand and pretend that all is well. In doing so, you are consenting with your silence and inaction. So don't complain when the wolves come knocking at your door. We've been dancing with these wolves since the late 90s, and when I described the cause of all disease and developed a protocol to reverse all disease with natural therapies, the deafening silence of those who know the facts of my situation tell me that no one will care when the wolves come into your life. If you're not aware of what I've experienced, listen to another radio show. You've been warned. And Carly will be on my show in just a few days. I will link that show with this article. This article will be one of the first in the new folks. By subscribing to this, or just buying one copy, by getting on my email list, you are suddenly dealing in with a network into the Patriot movement, where we're still trying to keep people honest, where we're still trying to give you the right information. And I think well, just to show you some of the other things we got. Now, by the way, if you go to Free American 69 on Facebook, check that out. Check that out, and you're some really interesting, good information here. And the war on Syria is almost there, folks. The talk of war is in the air. If Obama attacked Syria, it could ignite an all-out war in the Middle East. So once again, we're on the edge, and one wrong step could ignite the war. Iran and Syria want to use this as an excuse to attack Israel. If they attack Israel, it'll be the end of Syria. And the end of this war will result in the total destruction of Syria and most of the Arab nations. This is an Israeli viewpoint. For they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and the whole world to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty, and He gathered them together in a place called Armageddon. I mean, is that what we're looking at here? Possibly. But you've got gay lawmakers on the same thing. They're saying we'll take your children. And somebody else asked the question, does Obama know he's fighting on Al Qaeda's side? Of course he does. Now, Russia and China walk out of the UN Security Council meeting on Syria. The Russian and Chinese officials walked out of the UN Security Council meeting in New York on Wednesday, August 28th, after the U.S. Permanent Representative Samantha Power had called for an immediate action in Syria. The permanent members of the UN Council, Russia, Britain, China, the U.S., and France, had been invited to a closed meeting. An hour later, the Russian and Chinese diplomat left the meeting, headed for the Security Council main conference room, where debates on Haiti were taking place. Western countries may, until the end of the day, submit to the Security Council a draft resolution that will give the green light to an armed operation in Syria. Russia and China, which have the right of veto, and the Security Council have spoken up strongly against the use of force. However, Western countries have made it clear, thanks to Israel, that they may take measures without waiting for the UN security decision, as they did in 1999 in Kosovo. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister said this would be a gross violation of international law. This comes after Russia, China, and Iran have stepped up with dire warnings of consequences against the U.S. if they attack Syria without approval from the UN Security Council, which both Russia and China are guaranteed to veto. What else? What else we got? We've got Islamic terrorist networks set up in America. Terrorist cells have been filling up the 35-plus camps nationwide via our open borders and tunnels. Even Mexican Congress members don't understand why Obama has allowed the terrorists to come in. They've been on Glenn Beck's show. The terrorist groups are training drug cartels, and they're acting as paramilitary forces now. They've been on our borders and killed our agents like Brian Terry and U.S. citizens. Our borders are open so terror camps can be fortified with new recruits. South America is falling to communists and Marxists. For the first time, anti-American sentiment is on the rise. It is time to demand Obama's immediate resignation before it removes the entire cabal. Okay, be nice. Let's see if that happens. Now, we've got tremendous movements of weapons. There's Chinese nukes being paraded in the streets in China. Russia, Iran, and China are basically united against America. And why are they doing that, folks? Because America is a criminal regime. It is a criminal operation. Matter of fact, I just put up one of the books that I've got. I'll be having there talking about the criminal state of Israel. That's what it is. And by putting all of this information in one outlet, one magazine here, you really are, you're being warned. And Aldous Huxley even told you that only a large-scale popular movement toward decentralization and self-help can arrest the present tendency towards statism. A really effective totalitarian state would be one in which the all-powerful executive of political bosses and their army of managers control a population of slaves who do not have to be coerced because they love their servitude. To make them love it is the task assigned in the present-day totalitarian states to ministries of propaganda, newspaper editors, and school teachers. That was Aldous Huxley about 5 years ago, and that's what we're trying to start. Free Americans for a free America. No banks, no laws against victimless crimes, no laws against putting solar or about against gathering your own power. Build magnetic generators, go ahead. We'll protect you. The neighborhood will protect you. It's what we have to do. I don't know how else to put it. We've got to do this, and I think if you ignore the Jewish angle, you lose. You lose. Just flat out lose. The facts confirm that Israel and its collaborators in the U.S. are serious provocateurs and key architects of terrorism, against which Tel Aviv seeks American military, diplomatic protection, and financial support of U.S. taxpayers. To solve this transnational criminality requires multilateral engagement to remedy the perils that this syndicate now poses. And folks, that's available in Guilt by Association, which is available in my shop.freeamerican.com. Now, Let's see here. Yeah, see this. Guilt by association, done in 2008, explains how the Israelis applied game theory to deceive the United States into waging wars in the Middle East. Okay, let me get that. How are we doing in chat? Do we got anybody calling in today? I want to talk to somebody. Let me see here. Let's go back and look here. Nope. Nobody calling. See, Dr. D charge is there. He's over there. And okay. Now let me show you some of the other things. Oh, from Jeff Gates, the systematic nature of this criminality suggests that Americans alone can no longer secure their country. The corruption is too embedded, and elected officials are too intimidated by the Israel lobby. To solve this transnational criminality requires multinational engagement to remedy the perils that syndicate now poses to world peace. Strategy deployed to date reflects a profound misunderstanding of game theory dynamics that deceived the U.S. to wage war in the Middle East for the greater Israel. The global community is mistrustful of our words. Extremists have been emboldened. Our allies feel less secure. It's not Iran, but Israel that must be restrained to protect the U.S. national security and repair the worldwide damage done by the Washington consensus. In order to grasp the role that Israel played in the false flag terrorism of 9/11 and the illegal wars that followed in its aftermath, it's essential to understand that Israel is in fact a criminal state that was created and organized and is ruled by an organization of Zionist criminals that is actually an enemy of the United States and humanity. This was the Soviets that we had a Cold War with for so long. Let me see. Let's see if we can pull that up. Jeff Gates is good. I've had his book for a while. Haven't had him on my show for a while. I'll fix that. But the book is up and it is available. And let's do a little clip out of it. Do a little clip. See what we're gonna do here. I tell you folks, we're in a war. Israel is the enemy. It's not our friend. They are stealing billions of dollars from you and hiding behind.
Criminal State. A closer look at Israel's role in terrorism by Jeff Gates. Part 1. When asked on September the 11th, 2001, what the attacks meant for U.S.-Israeli relations, former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded, "It's very good. Well, it's not good, but it will generate immediate sympathy for Israel." Game theory war planners rely on mathematical models to anticipate and shape outcomes with staged provocations. For the agent provocateur, the reactions to a provocation, as well as the reactions to those reactions, thereby become predictable within an acceptable range of probabilities. With ongoing wars in Iraq and Afghanistan poised to expand to Iran and Pakistan, it is time to take a closer look at how conflicts are catalyzed by deception. Then Israeli game theorist Robert J. Aumann received the 2005 Nobel Prize in Economic Science. He conceded from Jerusalem, "The entire school of thought that we have developed here in Israel has turned Israel into the leading authority in this field. A professor at the Center for the Study of Rationality at Hebrew University, Alman's Nobel lecture, titled War and Peace, expounded on the rationality of war. With a well-modeled provocation, a target's anticipated reaction can even become a weapon in the aggressor's arsenal. In response to the provocation of 9/11, how difficult was it to foresee that the US would deploy its military to avenge that attack? With US intelligence fixed by well-placed insiders around a predetermined goal, how difficult was it to anticipate that the reaction to 9/11 could be redirected to wage war in Iraq? The emotional component of a provocation plays a key role in game theory warfare. With a nationally televised mass murder of 3,000 people, a state of shock, grief, and outrage made it easier for Americans to believe that no evil doer in Iraq was responsible, regardless of the facts. For false beliefs to displace real facts requires mental preconditioning so that a targeted population can be persuaded to put their faith in fictions. That conditioning enhances the probability of a successful deception. Those who deceived the US to invade Iraq in March 2003 began a decade beforehand to lay the mental threads and make the requisite mental associations to advance that agenda. Notable among those threads was the 1993 publication in Foreign Affairs of a theme-setting article by Harvard University professor Samuel Huntington. By the time his analysis appeared in book-length form in 1996 as The Clash of Civilizations, more than 100 think tanks were prepared to promote it. The result created a widely touted narrative, a thematic storyline supporting a clash consensus 5 years before 9/11 provided a plausible rationale for war. Also published in 1996 under the guidance of Richard Pearl was A Clean Break, a new strategy for securing the realm, that is Israel. A member since 1987 of the U.S. Defense Policy Board, this self-professed Zionist became its chairman in 2001. As an advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Pearl's Pentagon advisory post provided a powerful insider position to shape the national security mindset around the removal of Saddam Hussein, a key theme of A Clean Break, released 5 years before 9/11. That same year, Netanyahu addressed a joint session of Congress at the invitation of Newt Gingrich, the Christian Zionist speaker. Well-placed insiders are common components in a probabilistic model deployed by war planning game theorists. Lawmakers are also a customary ingredient. They provide credibility and a facade of legitimacy, a critical element when inducing a nation to war with phony intelligence fixed around a preset agenda. That role was eagerly filled by Senators John McCain, Joe Lieberman, a Jewish Zionist from Connecticut, and John Kyle, a Christian Zionist from Arizona, when they co-sponsored the Iraq Liberation Act of 1998.
The hard fact is that so long as Saddam remains in power, he threatens the well-being of his people, the peace of his region, the security of the world.
By promoting Israel's 1996 agenda for securing the realm, their legislation laid yet another mental thread in the public mindset by calling for the ouster of Saddam Hussein 3 years before 9/11. The legislation also appropriated $97 million to promote their agenda. Distracted by midterm congressional elections and impeachment proceedings catalyzed by a well-timed presidential affair with White House intern Monica Lewinsky, Bill Clinton signed that Zionist agenda into law in October 1998, 4.5 years before a US-led invasion removed the Iraqi leader. After 9/11, McCain and Lieberman became inseparable travel companions and irrepressible advocates for the invasion of Iraq. striking a presidential pose aboard the aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt in January 2002, Cocaine, a son and grandson of admirals, made another mental threat when he waved an admiral's cap and proclaimed, "On to Baghdad," by way of deception. The confidence with which this game theory strategy progressed in plain sight could be seen in the behavior of Deputy Defense Secretary Paul Wolfowitz, another Zionist insider. 4 days after 9/11, while in a principals meeting at Camp David, he proposed that the U.S. invade Iraq. At that time, the intelligence did not point to Iraqi involvement, and Osama bin Laden was thought to be hiding in a remote region of Afghanistan. On that same day, San Diego FBI Special Agent Stephen Butler interrogated Iraqi Munter Ghazal at his home near San Diego to determine if he was funding Mel Rockefeller, an American with whom Ghazal traveled to Baghdad in early 1997. After meeting for several days with a top nuclear physicist with oversight of Iraq's mothballed nuclear weapons program, Rockefeller returned to the U.S. with a practical proposal for removing Saddam Hussein without this war and without triggering an insurgency. When regional specialists of the U.S. Department of State would not meet with him, he traveled to Ottawa in April 1997, where he met with Middle East specialists in the Canadian government to ensure a written record was made to confirm there was an alternative to war in Iraq, 6 years before the invasion. Instead of debriefing him, FBI agents sought to discredit him. Though FBI agents interviewed Ghazal many times, they have yet to meet with Mel Rockefeller. Agent Butler cashed checks and paid rent for 2 San Diego-based men who allegedly piloted 2 of the planes on 9/11. The same Iran counseling made in Nidal Hassan with FBI knowledge before he was transferred to Fort Hood also counseled the alleged San Diego-based hijackers with FBI knowledge. As of December 1st, 2009, no one from the FBI or National Security had debriefed Mel Rockefeller 8 years after 9/11. When President George H.W. Bush declined to invade Baghdad and remove Saddam Hussein during the 1991 Gulf War, Pentagon Undersecretary for Policy Paul Wolfowitz imposed a no-fly zone in northern Iraq. By the invasion of March 2003, the Israeli Mossad had agents deployed for a decade in the northern Iraqi city of Mosul. Intelligence reports of Iraqi ties to al-Qaeda were also traced to Mosul, reports that proved false. Mosul again emerged in November 2004 as a center of the insurgency that destabilized Iraq. That reaction precluded the speedy exit of coalition forces promised in congressional testimony by senior war planner Wolfowitz in the lead-up to the invasion.
It's hard to conceive that it would take more forces to provide stability in post-Saddam Iraq than it would take to conduct the war itself and to secure the surrender of Saddam's security forces and his army. Hard to imagine, 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 hard to imagine.
FreeAmerican.com. Go to my website, sign up for a book, send me an email. I'll get the email when you order the book. God bless you. You get the first the magazine will be ready by the 1st of September. God bless you. Thank you for listening.